Hi everyone, good evening or good day. It doesn't matter where you are. And welcome to our fourth edition of the webinar series called Black Women In. And this is our first guest I'm about to welcome. So, hi Dara, I'm gonna try now with adding you. Hope it's gonna work this time. Yeah, it's working. It's working. Hi.
For
Can you
you.
hear?
Yes.
Good. How are you? Yes, I can hear you great. How how are you doing? Thank you so much, first of all, for being part of this platform, being part of this project. And I'm so thankful. And I remember the first time when I approached you on Instagram and I wrote you and told you about the project and you said, yes, I want to be part of it. I was so happy because I've been following your work and I said, oh my goodness, this woman gonna be on the platform. So thank you so much. How are you? How are you feeling today? And how are you going through this lockdown in the States? How was this time for you?
Well, first, I want to thank you for allowing me this opportunity. I'm honored to be a part of this platform. Anything that will support other women, and in particular, Black women, I'm happy to be a part of. I'm excited to
Yes.
be here today. And yeah, I think with this whole pandemic, it's hitting me similar to everyone else. I have my good days and my bad days, and I don't really like to be locked down, but I know it's for the safety as a physician. I understand why we have to do it, and so I'm willing to do that. I've been working the whole time, so
Wow.
taking
Yeah.
patients like that. So we've just been doing our job and protecting ourselves.
Exactly. And you've been doing a great job. And how's been for the family, for the children, for your husband, because you're a mother of three boys, wonderful boys. How's been this time?
Yeah, so in March when school shut down, it was our family. My husband works in healthcare also. He does administration, so he actually heads our equity and inclusion department, and so he just taken on that job, and he was able to work remotely, so he got the brunt of the schooling, and we thankfully were with my parents at the time, so they
Wow.
were too. That was just a blessing for us. But
Yes.
tough.
Yes.
The kids are ready to go back to school safely, and they can't wait for that.
Amazing, great. Dara, I think we have already a couple of viewers, but we're recording. We're gonna put the webinar on Instagram. It's gonna be seen by many people, like as the other webinar series. So let's start the webinar series. And I think one of the most important things that we wanted to discuss today was the biology of the dark skin. So let's start from this. So how can we, not just dark people, black people, but people in general, understand the biology of the dark skin?
So, understanding the biology of dark skin is similar to understanding biology of fair skin. It must be studied, and as we know, many medical studies sort of neglect patients of color being enrolled. So, I do think that more research will be needed in order to specifically see how our skin reacts to certain things. But um, yeah, it's very similar. The biology of dark skin is basically with our skin has more melanin in it, so that is what gives our skin its beautiful, rich color, and also protects us from things. So that's a basic difference between dark or light skin. But when you start to see how is skin affected by certain things, obviously more research is needed, and like I hinted to earlier, the lack of studies in darker skin, we're even seeing it with this COVID-19 pandemic, the way skin rashes present in COVID-19 patients. Most of the photographs we're seeing are of Caucasian skin, and so many of us Black dermatologists are looking to change that and submit our own photos and things like that, because without having appropriate representation, then we're not going to have appropriate care.
Sure. You just mentioned melanin. We were talking, posting about melanin all the time. Tell us more about the main function of the melanin and the main role of the melanin in our skin.
So melanin is a dark brown or black pigment, and it occurs in hair, skin, as well as in the iris of the eyes in humans and in animals. And it's what really gives us our skin its pigment. Melanin is produced in cells called melanocytes, and those cells are pigment producing cells, like I said. And then it's packaged in little bundles of things called melanosomes. And those melanosomes are then transported to our other skin cells um, from the melanocytes. And the melanosomes, the little package of pigment, sort of sits on top of the nucleus of the cell, and that's what helps to protect the DNA in our skin cells. So that's the main purpose of melanin, is to help protect our DNA.
Great. Amazing. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Thank you.
couple of differences with so there's eumelanin, which gives you the brown and the black pigment, and then there's pheomelanin, which gives you the yellow red. And the pheomelanin is the melanin that's responsible for like the areas of pink skin where you see it on mucosal lips, on nipples, on the genitalia, but also the combination of those two help give differing skin types.
Wow. Thank you so much. This was very, very helpful to understand not just the function of the melanin, but the biology of the melanin in general. What are the main problems and main issues from dermatologic point of view that dark-skinned people are going through?
So one of the main reasons we, as patients of color, present to dermatologists like myself is dyspigmentation. So either hypo or lightening of the skin, or hyperpigmentation. That's one of the main chief complaints when people present to us. And so that is one of our main issues that we see a lot, is hyperpigmentation. So patients will have a skin rash, and in darker skin, it may show differently, but then oftentimes it leaves, I call it little footprints behind, after the rash or the acne lesion or the scratch goes away. In our skin type, it leaves extra pigment a lot of the time. And that's one of the main reasons why patients of color present to the dermatologist.
And we read from time to time about dark people and skin cancer, but it's not so common. Why we don't talk about this? How can we prevent it? And why is it so important to start talking about this issue? Because we do suffer. There are dark people, dark skinned people who suffer from skin cancer. Um,
Yeah,
can we talk more about this?
absolutely. So I brought up, hyperpigmentation is the main common cause of why we present, but definitely skin cancer can and does happen in patients of color, in African American patients, Hispanic patients, and oftentimes skin diseases are misdiagnosed in our skin type. Again, it goes back to the lack of education of many dermatologists regarding how diseases can present differently, and that includes skin cancer. So sometimes if the doctors don't expect patients of color to have skin cancer, they're not necessarily looking for it. And then if the patients themselves don't understand that they can get skin cancer, what happens is that skin cancer in patients of color tends to present more further progressed, and tends to be at a higher stage and more difficult to treat because of that. So not just skin cancer, but even other conditions. I talked about the COVID-19 eruptions that can happen in skin of color, and it appears differently in Caucasian than in Caucasian skin. So we have to be educated about that and understand how our darker skin can cause things to present differently. But yes,
Yes,
cancer is
yes,
a issue, and we do have to protect ourselves, and the best way we can do that is protecting ourselves from the sun, and being well aware and educated of the fact that yes, we indeed can get skin cancer, and we do need to make sure that we're looking for that.
We're looking for that. Before we go to the next question, we have a question from Luba. Hi, Luba, first of all. She's asking, what can we do about hyperpigmentation, and are cosmetic laser procedures suitable for dark skin? Sorry, the question. Yeah, yeah. What we can do about hyperpigmentation?
So hyperpigmentation, so we want to try to prevent that. So sun protection is going to be very important. We talk about sun protection very commonly as dermatologists to prevent skin cancer. And we talked about the fact that skin cancer is possible in patients of color. It's not as common though. So for us, I really stress sun protection in order to help with hyper and or hypopigmentation or dyspigmentation. If you protect yourself from the sun, like if you have a surgical procedure or a laser procedure or things like that, using sun protection after such procedures can help prevent that post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation that we see quite often. Even if you have procedures like peels or anything like that. That can help prevent. So using sun protection. Lasers can be used, but you just want to make sure that you go to someone who is very well versed in using lasers in patients of color. I have seen patients come to me with hyperpigmentation as a complication because they were burned from a laser and they had little hyperpigmented circles very consistent with the laser head,
Okay.
because the person who did the treatment was not aware of how to turn down the energy and make sure that you use appropriate laser settings in our skin.
Right, right. Um, you just mentioned the sun's protection for the skin. Do we need to use different products for the face and for the body? Because I think this is one of the most common questions that we have. Or can I use just one product for my body and for my face?
You can use one product if you're in a pinch. I tend to use different products because I'm more acne prone. So I don't
Okay.
a greasy sunscreen on my face on a daily basis. I like to use more of a lighter weight moisturizer that has a sunscreen in it. And sometimes I even use liquid sunscreens so that it's not a heavier cream that I'm putting on, which can contribute to my acne. So it really does. And then for my body, I tend to use more of the heavier creams, or I'll even use a spray. Because that's a little bit easier to apply. I often like to use sun protective clothing even instead of sunscreen as much because it's a lot easier. You don't forget to reapply it, and it's always there.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much. About the pills, can we dark people when we use sunscreen products? Can we use pills in the summer as well? Is it important for our skin, or we should be very careful with using pills twice or three times a week, like fair skin people?
Yes, for peels, yeah, I would be very careful with using them.
Oh,
And usually I recommend consulting a dermatologist to talk about a treatment plan if you're what you want to specifically address. If you're addressing acne, we have peels for that. We have peels for hyperpigmentation. We have just peels to make your skin look better overall. So it certainly depends on what your goal is for the treatment. And then if you're doing something at home, usually it's not going to be as aggressive as what you would get in a physician's office. So those are probably safer, but I still say be very, very careful because we want to, if we're trying to treat hyperpigmentation, we don't want to induce it with irritating our skin too much.
okay. And our next topic will be anti-aging. We hear it so often, and with the compliments that we're getting, that we don't age. And yes, of course we do age, and it's visible, and we can see it, we can feel it. But do you have the feeling, and of course, from the biology point of view, that we age slower, and why is it like this?
Absolutely. We do age slower. So there's intrinsic and there's extrinsic aging. And extrinsic aging is due to our environment, sources around our environment. And one of the main factors of extrinsic aging is UV or sun exposure. And because our skin does have a little natural protection. Usually in very dark skin, you have an SPF of like 13 and a half, some studies have shown. So because we have a little natural protection from sun UV induced damage, the aging process can show up slower. We don't see wrinkles and things as early, but we do, and that's where that phrase "black don't crack" comes from. You know, people, you look so young, you look so young, but you're absolutely right. We do show aging in other ways, and that's with, again, we're back to my focus with pigmentation. So uneven skin tones, changes in our skin texture, the skin sagging, and things like that. That's the way we tend to show age, sort of the jowls and, you know, sometimes the hollows under the eye. Those are ways that our skin does show age, but it definitely is. It's definitely delayed because the melanin, that the extra melanin that we have, protects us against sun exposure. Other extrinsic factors, though, smoking. If we smoke, we're not immune to damage to our skin from that. Excessive alcohol, poor nutrition. So overall, taking really good care of yourself and avoiding things like that or limiting things like that really can delay the aging process for our skin.
Thank God we have melanin and more of it, so we
Absolutely.
can prevent aging. Yeah, yeah. At what age should Black women, sorry?
Say, I said there has to be, you know, there has to be some benefits of having our skin. We know that there are some downsides. So this
Yes. At what age should dark-skinned women, women of color in general, should start using anti-aging products? What do you think?
So I usually recommend, if you're starting to see signs of aging, you're a little bit late in using the products. So I don't tend to recommend it in teenagers or even, you know, necessarily early 20s. But in Caucasian, sometimes I do recommend early 20s to start. But depending on if you have other skin issues, if you have eczema or if you have acne, we sort of have to balance out the use of some of these anti-aging things like retinols. They can be somewhat drying and they can sort of exacerbate other skin conditions. So we, and sometimes retinol, and not sometimes, retinols are used to treat acne, so I'll have people use it earlier. But
Okay.
definitely mid-20s, I would start thinking about how it's never too early to really start taking great care of your skin. So, you know, using sunscreen even in the teens obviously is important, but a daily moisturizer with the sunscreen, I think as an adult, whenever you, you know, start paying your own bills, I think it's a good idea to start using that.
And start investing in a good skincare, as you said. Yes. Hydration and
Mhm.
dark-skinned people, where to start from this?
Yes. So our skin, when it is dry, does tend to look what we call ashy, gray, um,
Yes.
itchy. It feels irritated. So I think I started this with my boys as babies. You know, a shower, we moisturize. We would, you know, sometimes use baby oil and then a moisturizer on top of that. They were a little bit more acne, eczema prone. And so we really, that's a huge way that I was able to avoid using prescription steroids and things like that for them, for their eczema, is by just moisturizing the skin and making sure we lock in that moisture with a good emollient. You know, anything that comes in a jar, a lot of stuff, the lotions that you pump out have, they're made up mostly of water, so they evaporate off the skin, whereas something that you're scooping out of a jar is going to protect your skin much longer.
And how about using oils? You just mentioned using oils on the skin. Is it also for adults?
Yes, yep, you can use.
What kind of oils then?
So I have a patient who use, you know, a lot of coconut oil. Again, on the face, if you're acne prone, I would avoid using that.
Okay.
Um, um, you know, coconut oil. Sometimes people use tea tree oil. I found that there are patients who can develop a sensitivity to that, and they can end up giving themselves a bit of a rash. But yeah, anything that I usually tell patients, anything that you like the smell of and the feel of that you're going to use on a regular basis, I'm happy with it.
Okay, okay. And I think coconut butter as well and shea butter is very common in our Black community.
Absolutely,
Yes, heavy
yes.
texture and yeah, it stays for longer on the skin. Um, there, let's talk about the dark skin and dark marks that we usually face. What is the best skin treatment for people, dark skin people with dark marks?
So, oftentimes that is due to post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation, but it can be due to sun exposure and things like that too. So, the best way to treat it is to try to prevent it, and that means treating any skin condition you have. Like I said, I alluded to earlier, I have acne. So, preventing my acne from breaking out then helps to prevent the dark spots that follow. So treating any skin conditions that you have, and then using sun protection, sunscreen, and sun protective clothing, wearing sunglasses, things like that. But then once you do have that, a good way to treat hyperpigmentation is with hydroquinone. That's one of our more common prescription agents, and it is available in lower strength over the counter. But that's one of the mainstays. We also use tranexamic acid, kojic acid, vitamin C. Those things can all help to brighten darker areas on the skin.
Vitamin C, just as a vitamins, like as a pills to take it, or you can use it from fruits as well.
Yeah, topical vitamin C. Um,
Capital. Yeah. How often? Like daily, like on a daily basis?
yes, yes. So I use a vitamin C serum. Brands are, I use SkinCeuticals, but it just depends on what you like the feel and the price of. But SkinCeuticals has good data behind their vitamin C products, so I use the Floritin CF. There's also C ferulic if you tend to be have a little more mature skin, less oily skin, the CE ferulic. But yes, those work well as an antioxidant to help fight off the free radical damage that our skin encounters on a daily basis.
And talking about anti-aging, I would like to include retinol. Can
Absolutely.
can we black women, but also black men, use retinol? And is it good for our skin?
We can use retinols or tretinoin, which is the prescription strength. We just have to be careful with it. Again, our skin is sensitive and more prone to when it's irritated, then leading to hyperpigmentation or dark spots. That
Right.
if you use, especially the prescription ones, and you go get a high dose of that and use it all over daily, your skin can get very irritated, dry, and then you can end up with hyperpigmentation from that irritation. So you want to take it slowly when you're starting with retinols, and using retinols, the over the counter, is probably a smart way to start. And then as your skin tolerates that, or if you do have oilier skin or acne, then you can use a prescription strength. But I still recommend, a couple of times a week initially, and then every other day, and then working your way up to nightly use for those. But they're wonderful. Much of the early research was done at the institution where I trained, and they were able to show that retinol or retinoic acid can help to fade dark spots in dark skinned individuals as well as treat acne.
Wow. And this is actually the next question we have from Dora Kiyama from Germany. She's asking which products you would recommend against dark spots.
So anything that has hydroquinone in it. So in the U.S., the hydroquinone over the counter has 2%, but from physician's office, I often start at 4 or 6%. It can be
Okay.
created, separately, and then you can add things like kojic acid, um, adding the vitamin C antioxidants, adding the retinol. All of those things can help to a combination therapy can help to really improve those dark spots. The tincture of time definitely works, but many of us are impatient and don't want to wait because it can take several months for those spots to fade.
Yeah. Yeah. And when it comes to women, we don't have patience for this. We want to see the results immediately. So yeah, Fedora, so patient. And thank you so much for this information. Dora, if you have any questions, you can write them down below. Dara, I think we need to talk also about colorism and racism because these are also topics that are based on our skin color. Why do you think that colorism is such a huge issue? It has always been an issue in our Black global community, but why do you think it is like this?
Well, I think that that comes from the institutional racism that we experience. So we are all constantly bombarded with images of lighter is better, darker is bad. And, you know, we've all seen these studies where you show a 3 or 4 year old pictures of a doll in varying shades and say which doll is the prettiest, and the white kids pick the white doll, but unfortunately even the black kids pick the white doll because we are bombarded with those images. And I think it's just important for us as parents, as educators, as a physician, to really educate everyone and show them the beauty of the wide range of colors that represent you know, the human race, period, and the benefits of having that natural pigment. I've always found it interesting. I grew up in an area that was actually much of the area was Dutch, probably one of the largest Dutch population outside of the Netherlands, and so
Yeah.
it's very much fair skin, blue eyes, blonde hair, and I always thought it so weird that there were, you know, my skin wasn't good enough, but then they were laying out in the sun trying to get dark. Like my, even as a
Yeah.
child, I remember thinking that, like, oh, why do you want my skin if I'm not good enough, you know? So I think it's just, even as a child, I realized that didn't make any sense to me. So obviously my skin is wonderful, and, you know, we have to appreciate it and teach each other and other people why it is beautiful, and why it's important that we are receiving the same treatment and not fight amongst ourselves. You know, I think all shades of black skin are beautiful. You know, we have to stress that more.
Yes, and we have to start embracing and start loving our skin shades and the differences between all of them. And the last topic will be definitely racism coming from colorism, and we shifted to racism. Racism is an ideology that is based on physical features such as our skin tone. Do you think that the skin science and the dermatology can combine and fight both against racism?
Yes, because race is a social construct. There's really no science behind it. I mean, when you look at people on the African continent, there is no race of Africa. Like everyone is wide ranges, and the skin colors and tones have adapted depending on how close they are to the equator, how much sun exposure they need. Fairer people who are farther away from the equator and need more vitamin D had lighter skin. So this is really a societal, you know, society imposing this on us, and really there's no good science behind it. You can take ethnic groups and people who are from the same regions and have similar cultures and things like that and separate. You know, there are obviously differences with that, but when you look at skin tone, I mean, it's just, you see in especially in African Americans such a wide range, and now even more so as people are marrying people of other cultures, and now our genes are mixing even more, and you see that there is just a wide range, and there's no reason for us to separate ourselves based on a societal construct.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much. As the last question, maybe just like a message you want to spread to our community, what will be your advice? What will be your wish for all Black and brown girls out there who are having a dream but are facing racism and sexism on a daily basis?
Yeah, you know, I feel like that obviously we've all encountered that. We've all had to experience that. When like I mentioned to you earlier, growing up, I was the only one of hundreds and hundreds of students in my school, the only one of color. So that's not necessarily the way I would have loved to grow up, but that's the way I grew up. It made me stronger, and it helped me to understand, other cultures and understand where people are coming from and what they thought of me. But really, I want any girl of color to understand that she is capable of doing anything, and that we are here to support. And I'm hoping that us being visible to them helps them to realize that their dreams can come true, and that we're here to help them realize those dreams
Yes,
and support
yes.
other.
Support each other. That's why, yeah, that's why I invited you. I'm so, so thankful for you being here and providing so much information about our skin tones, about melanin, and helping us understand um, like the biology of the dark skin, but at the same time, how we can prevent skin cancer, and all of all of these issues that we Black people are going through when it comes to our skin. And this is such a topic, important topic that we are not talking about so much. We are not trying to understand it deeper. And I think it's important to understand it deeper. And once we do understand it, maybe we can help also white people understand it better and accept it and become one. Yeah.
It is so important because you think of one of the most famous people of color to have skin cancer is Bob Marley. He died from melanoma, and wasn't recognized early, and he ended up dying at a very young age. I feel like he's 37, something like that, very young. Without the education, we educate each other and ourselves, and educate others, and stand up, make sure that we are being treated, and that our skin conditions are being treated, and being evaluated and studied. That will be the most important. So I'm excited to be a part of it, and I'm happy to have been here today.
Yes. Thank you so much, Dara. Carola is waiting for us. We started a little bit earlier, later actually, because of the connection problems that we had. So I'm about to add Carola. Thank you so much. Many greetings to your boys, to your husband as well. And we're gonna stay in touch.
Thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity. You take
Have a
care.
beautiful day. Bye bye.
Bye
Bye
bye.
bye. So, hi everyone. And I'm just waiting now for Carola to send me a request to be in the video, to be in the webinar. Carola, if you can hear me, you can send me, yes, here you are. And there you go. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. These are two beautiful ladies here. Hi. Good evening. Good evening, Carola and
Dana, my daughter Dana.
yes, I didn't expect it. I was hoping for this. These beautiful curly ladies staying there. Good evening. How are you?
We're fine, thank you. Thank you for inviting us.
Yes,
Thank you for thank you for saying yes. Thank you for having this beautiful conversation that we had, Carola, a couple of weeks ago. And we spoke about this, what we're going through as Black women living in Germany. And yes, here we are, and we're ready to talk about our curvy bodies and our beautiful skin tones and everything we are going through as women. But first of all, tell us more about the philosophy of the Curvy Magazine. How did you start? How did the idea of the Curvy Magazine come?
Well, it was like 3 years ago. No, actually, it was 5 years ago. I had worked for a lot of normal fashion magazines, and I realized that so many people are suffering with their bodies. I mean, not even curvy women. I was not thinking of them in the first place, but I also had like a lot of skinny girls who were really not pleased the way they looked. And I said, well, this is not normal. And I had all different kinds of people, I mean, with all body types, and nobody was really pleased with it. So I thought, okay, we have to do something against it. We have to, just open up another side, open up another book, make people feel comfortable in their bodies, just show them how beautiful they are. So I started looking for people to finance it. but I didn't find anybody, so I started it myself. I just said, okay, this is something I really want to do, so I just started.
Wow. Wow. And it's I told you about this. My best friend, she presented me your magazine, and she was so happy and said, "Wow, there is someone who created a magazine for me." And it's like I do believe that so many women are seeing themselves in these magazines. And when she opened the first page, and I saw you, and I saw me, and I said, "Wow, this is a magazine for us women. It doesn't matter what skin tone we have. It doesn't matter what body shape we have, is for us."
Yes.
And Carola, can both of you, can you help us women to understand why we are not accepting the changes our bodies are going through? Why we always suffer from this self-doubt and self-esteem and always never satisfied with who we are and how we look, mostly how we look.
Yes, I think it's a very long journey women had till now. I think also women being more taking care of their own lives makes them even more free to accept their bodies, because before we were all dependent on men over generations, over decades. So if you don't have the right men to support you, you didn't have your food. This is all changing in the last couple of years, and that's a big step for us women, so that we can, just be independent. Being independent means also just to accept what you're doing, reaching for a goal, just trying to make a living, trying to support your kids and stuff like that. And being a young girl, you always have like idols in front of you in television and magazines, which are so different from your lifestyle. And then you always compare yourself. So we have to stop comparing ourselves with other bodies, with other human beings. I think that's the first step. So
And
we,
this is, I think, something
yeah.
I think it's very important also your opinion, because we're talking also about different generations. What are you experiencing? What is your generation experiencing? Social media is here.
Social media is here, but for me it was a good thing because I could select more different people to see. Because when I was growing up in the 90s, all I saw were very skinny, very pretty video girls. So now I have collected, I made my own, I don't know, worlds. Like I opened my world up to other forms of beauty, and I know it worked because I'm way more open and I find more different people beautiful than I thought when I was younger. Because when I was
Yeah.
younger, oh, okay, this is pretty, this is how it's supposed to look like. Now I know.
So
That,
you see, so you just like see social media as another one world where we can create our own beauty standards, and we can connect with people who are looking most like us, because we, as you said, we didn't have it back then in the 90s, in the 80s, we didn't have it. And now we have the choice to see all of these people.
Donna had told me a very good stuff, I mean, a couple of weeks ago, that you should look for your body twin on Instagram and follow them. Is it a skin twin, a body twin, just someone who's just like you or who you feel connected to, and you
Yeah.
follow, and then you feel like, wow, they're fine, so I'm fine. Just don't start following people who are completely different. You're not going to be a unicorn. You're always going to be yourself. So don't go with blonde, skinny bloggers if you're not. Well, if you can follow them and not feel bad, that's fine. But if you follow a lot of people and you just compare yourself and you make yourself miserable because everything you look at is like, that's not, I can
Yeah.
never do that, that's not enough,
Yeah.
then open up your world and follow people that look like you, follow people that are interesting and inspire you. So I heard this on a podcast. It's called Pet Chat Pop. Also, listen to people who maybe when you feel very isolated and alone, it helps to listen to people who have the same lived experience so you don't feel so alone anymore.
So this is a very beautiful, positive thinking. And I would ask you about women who are not positive about this, who are using social media in a very different way to compare in the same time, at the same time to feel depression. They're feeling depressed. Just give all of these women who are listening now, gonna listen later, some tips. How can they not just avoid, but kind of like erase all of this thoughts, negative thoughts that they're going through, and some of this self-doubt they're going through and happening inside of them.
This is not so easy because, first of all, if you really look at, people with a certain Instagram lifestyle, I would say, because it's not all real, it's fake. You can make a nice picture and smile at it, and then you turn it off, and then you're sad and you're alone and you don't feel happy. I mean, this is a tricky world. So I would say the first thing is, if you feel really, really bad about yourself watching the wrong idols, stop doing it. That's the first step. Just stop. Don't do it. Detox Instagram for a while, and then start collecting people you really think are more your type. I mean, don't don't torture yourself for something which you have. Just
Yeah.
accept what you have. Love what you have. It's a strong word to say love, but accept what you have.
Or start with neutrality. Okay,
Yes.
start with not hating yourself, but maybe like, okay, I'm not that bad, and then work yourself like slowly to self-love or whatever, but start with like body neutrality.
Yes.
Self, like, I'm okay, I'm not the worst person in the world. I think we know there are some out there, they're way worse, and just work your way slowly. And then it's a struggle, it's daily.
And I always recommend as well, just try to treat yourself and your body as somebody you respect, So stop thinking negative thought. It's like your best girlfriend, for example. She's not always perfect. She's not always fair. You get in fights with her, but you love her. And you're always, go back to her and say, well, let's be okay again. Just like think it as your body as like your best girlfriend. She's always there. She's carrying you around. She has bad days. She has good days. Sometimes she's really, but at the same time,
Yes.
you can have her, you can go for dinner, you can go for drinks, you can go dancing. So it's your best girlfriend, the only one you have, actually. Yeah.
So start practicing self-love in small, small steps, like daily, daily.
Yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful. Why do you think
If it's not always a good day.
Yes, that's what I said.
Yeah.
it's fine. I think this is also people are searching for everything to be perfect, everything to be great every single day, but we are human beings at the end of the day, and it's normal that we will have days where we're gonna cry, we will suffer, and it's part of the journey. And just take it, just leave it, cry, just suffer, and the next day is coming. And yeah, wow, this is beautiful. Why do you think that the curvy bodies and the curvy beauty standard is back? As you said, in the 90s, we have this 1960, 90s models, and now going through not just social media, but media, and all the celebrities. We have Alicia Keys, Beyonce, Tracy Ellis Ross presenting, embracing their sensual bodies, their curvy bodies. And so many women and girls are willing, to look like them and to have this female curvy bodies. Why do you think that the curvy body is back as a beauty standard in our society?
Well, I think we should get away from thinking why curvy bodies are back, because they were never gone. They were always there. We just had like people in the front which was not representing curvy bodies. And when, like in the time when Marilyn Monroe was hip and stuff like that, people with no breasts and were really tiny, they were suffering. And the same thing happens when, has Twiggy and stuff, then the curvies are suffering. So we have to get away from that. we have to get it away from a certain look that somebody has to have as a woman, and just be the natural person you are, the way you look. So that's the first thing I would say. I really don't want to, have like different types, which is in or out, because they're
Yes.
all always existed at the same time. So
True.
what really helps a lot in the curvy community, as Dana just said, was like the internet, where you can found your crowd, where you can be proud, where you get clappings if you wear jeans, you get clappings when you wear whatever you want. Nobody's judging you. Everybody's, supporting you. And
Exactly.
I think also, which really helped the plus size community, is a lot of Black women out there being strong in front of the camera. So they give a big lift to all the curvy community, Black or white, Chinese, Indian, whatever. They just step out and said, well, we're Black girls, we rock it, and we don't care. So, and then it gives a lot of confidence to so many women out there.
Yeah.
Just,
Yeah. Sure.
it started with a couple girls blogging about their style. I think the first ones were mostly Black, and then you had at least something to look at, like, oh, cool, I want to wear that. And I think it's just seeing it, and then people hearing about it, that it's possible, and where to shop, how to shop, because I was at a hairdresser once, and she was like, I don't know, I don't know, I don't go anywhere. And it's like, I was so,
Wow.
I was like, the internet? She's like,
Yeah.
oh, maybe. But she didn't know, because she had no one in her life. She didn't know where to turn. I think it's just, you have to see it. And some people had to be brave and make the first step and step out into the public and show themselves and show how it's done. And then others followed.
And
And you're very brave.
that's magazine, just showing how pretty they are, what they can shop, what they can wear, and helping to change the view of the eyes.
The viewing habits.
The viewing habits has to change, and that's something which is really important. It's something which I really love fighting for, because also when I started the magazine, I had like some comments from friends and saying, well, but she's really a lot. And I'm like, so what? So what?
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
what? You were very brave, and you started something new. You started a revolution that we needed, not just in Germany. We needed it in Europe. We needed it all over the world, and you started it here. But tell us more about the challenges, because there is always a challenge. Being the first, creating a revolution, being a woman, it's always connected with some challenges. And Carola, as a woman of color living in Germany with natural hair, what were the challenges you were going through in creating this platform? I will not call it a magazine, I'll call it a platform.
Platform, you're right. Well, there is a lot of challenges. I mean, like I said before, I was working for years in the fashion industry, and being always like one of the only Black ones in Germany. Also, I grew up in a time where there was not so many Black people in Germany. It was like a different thing. It was like kind of also good to be Black, because then you're different. You don't
Yes.
just care anymore. It's like after a while, people are staring at you the whole time, look like kids on the street and everywhere, and you get so used to be in front line because people are watching you the same time,
And they remember you.
and they remember you. So this gives me a strength to say, okay, so what can I do wrong now? Nothing, because I'm always in the focus of people. So that was also something which was very good for me. And I had a very strong grandmother, a white grandmother, because I'm mixed with German and African. And she was always saying, you're coming from such a good house. You're better than them. So that gave me a lot of confidence. She was like, really, watch it. You're
Wow.
give me this kind of feeling. So working in the fashion industry is something different. It's nicer to work in the fashion industry as a Black woman than in a bank or something, where I have to type my hair maybe, or be a different person just to, to people can trust me. the
Sure.
industry is a circus. There are so many gay people, so many international people. So it's fun. It's easier. Let's say it's easier. And fashion was always my passion, so it was for me easy. But being the way I am was not so easy because sitting in the front row and not having the perfect body was also always a problem because you sit so tight and you're always afraid that somebody's going to touch you. And then you could not wear all this designer clothes because it wasn't made for bigger bodies. And that was something helped me to be like the unique person I am because then I didn't care. I buy on the flea market. I mix it the way I wanted to mix it, and I just just go out with it and just play with it. Play with
Right.
all the things you have, and then you're stronger than others. Don't try to get to their point. Let them look at you. Use
Yes.
everything you have, your hair, your body, and just wrap it in and feel proud about it and stand there. And then you can get away with everything.
Don't fix in boxes. Create your own. Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Invite
Yes.
people into your world and don't try to get to theirs because
Yes.
it's not so working.
Amazing, amazing. Wow, wow, wow. Great, great. There are so many women who can learn from you both. I'm really like speechless. Really empowerment session tonight.
Yes,
We're going to talk about patriarchy because we already spoke about this. You mentioned now your grandma. Patriarchy in our ways in a global community it destroyed so many, destroyed the mindset and kind of this is the reason why human bodies are being sexualized and being seen just as an object. Why do you think it is still in our society, and how can we women can prevent it, and even kind of like change the system?
yes. Change the system is also not so easy, as you know. It takes a while. It takes a lot of steps, like everything. But I think we're really working on it already. There's a lot of blogs and Instagram pages of women who's not raising their hair under the arms anymore, or showing that their hair is natural and they like it. Just like the way that it grows. They're
Yeah.
not for men anymore. Take it or leave it. It's a very modern way of thinking. Not for everybody, but if you're on that track, do it. Just feel natural, just feel not sexualized. Also, I think women has to more get to the point where they see their body as their body,
Mm.
Not a commodity.
it's nothing somebody can own. And
Yeah.
their sexuality, to live and love their own sexuality. That means really knowing what your body is capable of to give you the joy, not for you to give it to somebody. And that's something women has to, learn. That's why,
Yes.
like in our next issue, for example, we have like we were talking to a sex therapist and
Okay.
sexual
Okay.
trauma therapist, and we were asking her, um, what is the vulva? What does it? How can we work with our own bodies? How can we not? Just like it's somewhere down there in the dark. Just put it out in the beauty, in the light. It's so different, and it has so much things that you should know about it. And
Yes.
I think that's one of the first steps is just to, you know, see your own body, love every part of it. There's no part of it which is bad. Nothing is there bad. Nobody created you bad. So love every part of it, look at every part of it, and just know what this part is for.
No. Well, the patriarchy they have been in power for so long, and the ones that profit from it try to hold on to it. I think we all just have to open our minds and inform ourselves. For example, I listen to a lot of feminist like movie podcasts and stuff, and hear the perspective, and I've learned a lot. And like
Sure.
experience, like I was listening to an audiobook I bought like 5 or 6 years ago, and
Yeah.
I remember enjoying it, but now so many things in this book were wrong. It's like, that's sexist. That's not good for women. Not even good for the men. Why is that in there? But I didn't have the capacity because I didn't inform myself and I wasn't open to it. So you just have to sometimes learn. And feminism is not a dirty word. It's like feminism does not mean against men. It just means
Yeah.
everybody same level. It's like Black Lives Matter does not mean white doesn't. It means it's just that's the focus of the part that has been neglected for centuries. So it has to be, raised up to the same level.
Yeah.
But you have to be open and not see it as an insult or a dirty word. We have sometimes discussions about feminism, and there are people like, feminists, like, why? It's a good thing. It's for everybody.
They're scared about it, but that's the point, which I think we're living in a very interesting time right now. I mean, it's of course we don't want to start with Corona, but we also
Oh no, please.
have the Me Too movement, which was really big. Also, with the Black woman started, we had, women globally getting together, closer together, sistering and really taking care of each other. In Hollywood, they're making movie films from women for women, which before everybody thought it's going to be a flop. Is there not gunfires and one beautiful woman who is the hero's masters, then it's going to be bad. No, it's changing. People are changing, and a lot of men are changing with us. So we're really happy that there are a lot of men out there who wants us to be in the same level, who wants their sisters and their mothers to be, equal pay for what they work the same job. They want their mothers not to be, because they're wearing a short skirt that somebody is like an invitation to touch their bodies. No, 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 no. If you wear something, you're not asking for it. If you want your job and you do a good job, you have to be paid for it. All this kind of stuff. It's moving right now. It's changing right now. And it's on our women society to hold together, to stick together, and to support each other, and not, looking at other women and saying, oh, look at her. She's got the money because her husband, or she's got this, or she's got that. Oh, I would love to have her body, but she's working out the whole time. Not negative things. I mean, if you look at yourself for a whole day, just like once a week, what you think about other women when you walk on the street, what your mind is telling it. So you have to know that in certain points, it's not always easy. You have to stop and say, stop. It's a sister. She's doing as best as she can. Yeah. So don't judge her. That's the way her life is right now. And maybe she's capable of giving her daughter or whatever, or her son, even more important, give her son another way of looking at women, another way of looking at people.
Yeah. And I think this is also a very good point that we need to mention, talking about women, but not excluding men. How can we help with these female platforms also provide some tools for men to start, because they are very important part of this society and understanding us and helping us as well. As we said, men should also help us, lift us and support us and create a new mindset of seeing us. So how can we provide, we women, tools for men who are willing, men who are ready for this new mindset? How can we do this?
I mean, it starts, as I said, with raising boys, giving them the same things to do like girls have to do. I mean, letting them cry, letting them be human beings, letting them be soft, all this kind of stuff. But I think the best thing is always just to talk. You have to talk. Communication is the key word. You have to talk to people and say, why are you saying this? Why do you think that way? Yeah. What should I take out of this, what you're giving me right now? Is this something you want me to feel good about later, or you want me to feel bad about it because you told me that? Yeah. So just ask the right questions.
Also, yeah, ask questions and be open to questions and not dismiss them, because sometimes they actually don't know, because they've been raised also in a world, the same world we've been raised, and we're trying to fight almost the same things, but you know, they profited for so long from so many things. So talking, explaining, and be open to questions.
And sometimes they really don't know. It's like, oh wow, I haven't thought about it that way.
We're running really out of time. We have like 5 seconds and 4.